Hi everyone. I wasn't sure what I wanted to make for dinner. And then my daughter said, why don't we have biscuits and gravy? Just like that. Haven't done that for quite a while. So sit back and we're going to make homemade biscuits and gravy. Step number one is the spices for our sausages. That is a half a teaspoon of sage and garlic powder, a teaspoon of salt and pepper, and this is 1 tablespoon of brown sugar and about a half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. We're going to mix it all up. It also called for 1/8 of a teaspoon of margarine, but I don't have any of that. So it's all mixed up and ready to go. Here's our 1 pound of ground pork. That's going to go into the bowl. Of course, I could have got a bigger bowl, but they're all in the dishwasher. In goes our spices, and now we just mix. Which is the fun part, of course. And you got to mix it about as thoroughly as you can. It's not the easiest thing to do. Into a frying pan we go. Bloop, like that. And of course now we're just going to cook all this down. There we go. Just like that. Nice and cooked. We'll put it in a bowl till we need it. And we're going to use our frying pan that's still got bits and stuff at the bottom of it. We're going to use that to make our gravy down the road. So now that I've got most of the ground pork, aka sausages, into the bowl, well, I got to clean up the stuff I messed up. Now we need our food processor because we're going to make some biscuits. I've never tried making these kind of homemade biscuits before. I've made scones and a couple other things, but I've got my flour out. This is going to be 3 cups of flour. Using my measuring mug, of course. Put that aside. We've got some baking powder now. 5 teaspoons. If you want to do it the big way, that's about a tablespoon and a half of the stuff. 3 tablespoons is 1 teaspoon. We also need a teaspoon and a half of salt. And here's our butter. You could use shortening if you got it. It's a half a cup-ish of chilled. Now it has to be cold. If you want your biscuits nice and fluffy, it's got to be cold. Just a quick spin around to get our dry ingredients all mixed together. Now comes the butter that I've cut into chunks. And we're going to blend all that into our flour. And of course you want to make sure it's cold because that's making your fluffy biscuits. And who am I to argue with, bakers that have gone before me? So we're going to pulse it a little bit until I can see that it's broken down. Now it's only supposed to be pea size when you're done. Unfortunately, I didn't really know what was going on, so they ended up being a little less than pea size. So I was kind of concerned that these weren't going to be overly fluffy and flaky. But I'm not going back, so I'm kind of checking here just to see, and I can't find the butter at all. I'm afraid I've ground it down pretty good. I could see the little bits and pieces, but they weren't very big. Well, let's unplug it and let's go use it. So into our bowl. Here's our flour. Trying ever so carefully not to dump the blades into the bowl. So that looks good. Next up, 1 1/4 cups of buttermilk. You can see I went right to the top with my measuring mug because I know that's not quite. I put another dash in just to make sure. And now the trick is mixing this all together, and you want it mushy. It could even be a little sticky by the time you're done, but you don't want it swimming in liquid. You want it kind of chunky like that. That looks good. Now I've thrown a little bit of flour down on our surface. And see how crumbly that is? Oh, don't you worry. It might look crumbly, but it's pretty soft and liquidy. So I know you don't really want to work the dough too much, just enough to kind of put it all together. And so it's not super sticky. There we go. Close enough. Now we're going to get out my daughter's rolling pin. Why? Because I don't really have one. Those are hers. She's more the baker than I am. And we're going to carefully roll this dough out so that we can make our biscuits. I don't want it super small. We'll get her down to about 1/2 inch. I think that should work. Kind of hard to judge. I know what I'm looking for, but I'll know when I see it. So this is kind of coming together all right. You can see there's a couple cracks here and there, but by and large it's holding together all right. Yeah, I guess we should make sure all the dough stays. I think that's good. So here's the pan we're going to bake them in. Of course, you got to throw your parchment paper down. I don't know what I ever did before that. I must have gone through a ton of pans, I think. So here I've got a cutter. I've had these a little while. They are fantastic. It's a set of like about 15 different sizes. Now don't worry, if you don't have them, you could use a cup or something similar. As long as it's got a decent edge on it. Now the recipe did say don't mush them around, just cut them and let them fall. So I'm trying to be careful with them because I'm not really sure how well this is going to work. But they kind of look about the right size as I'm putting them on the pan. We'll take the leftovers, mush it down, and get those last couple biscuits out of them. Actually, look at that. I got 3, 4, and a little one left over. Oh, wow. Now I really got to rearrange my baking pan. So there we go. That wasn't hard at all. I've got a tablespoon of melted butter, and we're going to butter up the tops. Well, so you think you get golden brown, right? There we go. And these are in a preheated 450-degree oven, 13 to 15 minutes. Just keep an eye on them till they're nice and golden brown. All right, we got our sausage, we've got our biscuits. Now we got to make the gravy. So that's 4 tablespoons-ish of butter we're going to melt down. All right, that's looking pretty good. It's most of the stuff off the bottom is up and in the butter. Yummy. Now we're going to throw some flour in. About 1/4 cup of flour. And we're going to combine that with the butter. And if you want to make some more, you're just going to have to add more liquid towards the end. You can always make more gravy, believe me. 2 to 3 minutes, and now we're throwing in our milk. That's 2 1/2 cups of milk. There you go, just like that. I measured it all out. It's pretty liquidy right now, but it will thicken up quite a bit. And that's why I said that depending on what you want for gravy and how thick or thin you want it, it all depends on how much you put in. So I could have put in another cup of milk and it would have worked fine. So here's some spices. That's a teaspoon of salt. That's the end of my salt. And about a teaspoon of pepper. The same with garlic powder, because who doesn't like garlic powder? And about a half teaspoon of cayenne pepper. That's going to give it a little bit of a kick. Actually, the cayenne almost turns it like a pinky look to it. I don't know if you can see that or not. And we keep cooking and cooking and simmering, and you can see it's getting a little thick there. So now we add our breakfast sausage. Now watch how thick this gets. This stunned me. I wasn't ready for it to be that thick, but there you go. Our biscuits are out of the oven. Don't those look good? That's 16 homemade biscuits, and man, they look good. They're nice and golden brown, so let's get them on a plate. I'm going to have at least 3 and dish myself out a little bit of gravy. And there you have it. Tonight's meal, sausage, gravy, and biscuits. Yummy. Time to eat. Hey, another great recipe. I hope you'll give it a try. Leave me a comment below, one way or the other. Listen, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell, because that'll tell you the next time I upload a video. Feel free to share this and any of my other videos. And thanks for stopping by and watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.